All right, and we're back for episode 14 of the AI Code Central podcast. We're back with Conor, our
What up? What up?
analytics pro, our CML co-founder. So before we dive in, we're going to be chatting about events and GTM analytics and what else, Conor?
I mean, really just
It's not
GTM
my
analytics. No, data layers, variables. I think it's really just an extension of what we've been talking about the past few weeks. I feel like hangups is the wrong word, but it's more diving into the nitty gritty of creating these events, lack of what you may see, and really just how to set it up properly and giving you guys a smoother walkthrough of how to set it up basically from start to finish and going through some troubleshooting for some issues we've kind of dealt with ourselves. You know, we deal with it just as you guys do out there too. So I think it'll be kind of cool to walk everybody through some stuff
Okay.
like that.
What do you mean exactly by events?
Yeah, so an event, right? For example, a page view in GA4 in any analytics platform is considered an event, but I'm talking about something a little bit more paramount or of importance here, right? So something like a form fill or somebody who's clicked, okay, for example, we're going to talk about somebody who's clicked get started to sign up for an application here, right? So somebody's doing something that's a bit more meaningful, I'd say is an event here, but analytics, defines anything as an event. It could be a page scroll, a page view, a click, something like that. But an event in this case will be something that's a bit more meaningful. Again, like a sign up or specific page view, something along those lines.
Got it. Okay, cool. So before I hop into that, it was Labor Day over the 3-day weekend. What'd you get into? What did you get into before that? Because
Labor Day weekend. Yeah, we were going back and forth. So I saw Korn and System of a Down last week, which was they're a bucket list band for me. So me and my buddies, I think I was telling you, we do like every year we'll pick a band to go see who's been on our bucket list for years and years. So, before this year it was Metallica. The year before that it was Slayer. Yeah. A few years before that it was Black Sabbath when Ozzy was traveling around with them still. And we just try and knock off all these big bands that we want to see. So Korn, System of a Down finally came local to where we are. We're all in New York, and they played at a MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, and they just tore the freaking house down, man. They were awesome. Korn, amazing show. Sounded just like they did, I'm sure years ago, even though I never went to a show before that. System of a Down, same exact thing. Kind of weird. I was expecting more theatrics, I think, from System of a Down, but it was really just straight singing. Serge's voice sounds like it hasn't changed, probably since they started.
He's but an absolute animal.
Were you the one who telling me that he was like trained by like opera singers or
I thought I read that somewhere that he's like a classically trained opera like vocalist.
I believe it because he's
an absolute he's a beast.
He was awesome. They went past the time they were supposed to. They were supposed to stop at 11 and they said screw it. They went for like 11:30. The show was a freaking blast. I came home. I was wiped out the next day, but it was freaking worth it, dude. It was absolutely awesome. So highly recommend, if you get the chance, see Korn and System of a Down, although I think they only played 2 shows at MetLife, and I think they're only doing like 4 other cities around the country. They kept it pretty small, but they sold out the show there, and I'm sure they sold out all the other ones, but freaking awesome, man.
Badass.
What about you? What'd you get up to?
So we talked about this with Kaz and I on the last show, but I was in the mountains. So I'm in Denver proper.
As you do.
Yeah, I buzz up to Winter Park, and there's I think it's the best, and I've heard this from other people, just from like riding the chair up, like up the lift. It's the best bike park in the country. Yeah, so I went and did downhill. I do downhill mountain biking. You see those lunatics throw themselves down a mountain on a bike. Yeah.
No thanks, man.
It's so much fun. It's terrifying, but it is so much fun. Knock on wood. I had a pretty bad crash last year. I face planted last year. Broke my goggles. I look like a zombie. So the point of this is that I came somewhat close to having a bad crash, but this guy, I don't think he's been riding that long. I was coming around a turn, and I was like, I know these trails pretty well, and I wasn't like steaming fast. My hands were getting kind of sore, so I wasn't going that fast. But the trail's here, and there's like a lip on like either side, and then you can kind of just go down, and I could just kind of tell like he was a very experienced rider. And I was coming up, and he was about to jump down, and I was like, "Whoa, heads up!" And I was like screaming. I was like, "Heads up!" And he was like, "Oh!" And he did that.
My gosh!
Yeah, he kind of yelled, "Ah!" And I just went right around to the left, and I was thinking like, "Whoa, I could have just smoked that."
Like, so wait, do they actually do? Is it like skiing where they have like black diamond and like all like color coded trails too? Is it the same thing?
Yeah. So
double black. I'm sure you do all the double black trail.
Yeah, my favorite to double, and I told Kaz this. There's a double block called True and Unusual, and Kaz, of course, Kaz is like, "Oh, what the fuck, Chole?" And I said, "No, there. That's like that's my favorite. There's two wall rides. I'll send a picture. There's a jump I haven't done yet. There's a gap, a step down. So you take off here, you land here. So when you're going down, all you can see is the takeoff. You can't see the landing, and that's why it's scary because you're going like 30 miles an hour, and you have to clear this. You have to clear a gap.
Kaz, go ahead. Sorry to digress. I'm just saying, Kaz, we miss you on these. I know we had you on the first one, but I'll speak for myself then. Kaz, if you're listening out there to this, once it's out, I miss you. It'd be great to have you on the next one. So, don't hesitate to join. I know analytics for you, but I'm patiently waiting for you to be on the next one.
So we did that. I haven't done that. I'll do that. Actually, I want to go up tomorrow and do it. I haven't done that yet. I did 2 other gaps that are on my list this year. So I was in the mountains for about 3 days. I think it was 3 nights. And I have a season pass there. Yeah. So it's awesome because the condo we stay at is here, and like a block and a half away is a brewery here. And there's like this like condo like community. It's so awesome.
Hell yeah, man. That's freaking awesome. Well,
yeah. So sometime you'll have to buzz up and check it out. So
Denver's on the bucket list for me. Surprisingly, I feel like it's like the last major city in the U.S. that I just haven't gotten to visit yet. I feel like I've hit up all like the major states and cities, and Denver's like the last one standing. But I feel like, I don't know, the summertime it doesn't feel like it's the right time to visit Denver. I feel like it's such like a fall or winter state, but obviously by what you're telling me, it feels like spring or summer is the better time to do it.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, skiing is obviously a lot of fun, and Winter Park isn't as crowded as like Breck or like a base. It's nice. Like I like Winter Park. Obviously, I like that bike park and that breweries. I mean, I don't drink that much, but still have a beer or two after you ride.
Any brewery for me is where I'm at. So it'll be happening sooner rather than later. That's for freaking sure.
Yeah, cool, man. But yeah, that's what I dug into over the weekend.
All right. So I guess enough about our weekends. I'm sure as much as you're all interested in that, I know you're all here for something else. Diving back into the topic of today, which again, I think we're going to do a bit more of another run through of really getting analytics set up through Google Tag Manager on a new website that Charlie's basically been setting up laboriously over the last week or so. I know you've done a few iterations of it yourself, Charlie, and you've built this through Lovable, if I'm correct in saying that. So I think, yeah, right here, Campaign Pilot. It's an awesome website. It looks beautiful. Functionality is great. We spoke about landing pages last week. This kind of hits the mark, right? Just to kind of touch on that a little bit. CTA's up high, value propositions there. I know there's a few things that you're still working out on it, but this is a perfect use case for what we want to do today. So I think first and foremost, what I'd really like to walk people through is again, once you have your website set up, your landing page, whatever it may be, you obviously want to start measurement first and foremost, right? Without that, you're kind of flying blind. You have no idea what's taking place on your website, who's visiting, where they're visiting from, what actions they take, all that really good nitty gritty stuff that you need to get better as you move along, right? To iterate and to just analyze behavior and kind of optimize things. That being said, Charlie, I think you've already put Google Tag Manager on, if I'm not mistaken, but I think I'd like to walk through really quick where everybody can go in once they get their Google Tag Manager account set up and kind of the steps that you took to kind of add it to Lovable. And I can even get my screen up here really quick as well in Tag Manager for Campaign Pilot and show that here. So this is the Campaign Pilot Tag Manager account that was created. If you don't know how to create the Tag Manager account, you can easily plug that into AI, ChatGPT, Quality, any of those. It'll walk you through. It's really, really simple. Once you get it set up though, literally as easy as going to admin, or it'll instruct you the second you set up the account. And it's this very simple install Google Tag Manager thing right here. Click it, and you literally just have this instruction. Charlie, I'm assuming you just copy pasted this into Lovable with some prompt to install it.
Yeah, like I copied from the word install, and I just copied the entire thing. And I said, all right, just my prompt is basically install this.
Okay. So again, for all you guys out there listening, if you can take the opportunity to come over to the YouTube channel and watch this, because it's going to be a lot more informative. But just everything after install, copy and paste it into, your website builder if you're using AI. If not, this gives you a pretty good idea of where you need to put it, the 2 pieces of code. And once that's done, you can just test it out by taking the website you installed it on, clicking test, And after a few moments, you should see this little green check mark show up there. That just verifies that Tag Manager is installed. So that's pretty much step one down. We got that checked off the list, right? So after that's done, you're pretty good with Google Tag Manager for the time being. The next thing you're going to want to do is also go ahead and open up a Google Analytics account, or what's now known as GA4. We also spoke about setting this up again a few episodes ago, so go ahead and take a listen to that if you haven't yet. Super informative on that front, but Google Analytics for Campaign Pilot has been set up. So what you'll see here right now is not a ton of active users or events, nothing like that. You do see some active users because we just went through a bit of a run through on this to make sure it was working prior to doing this podcast today for you guys, but we're going to go through the practice one more time. So you'll see up here, no data received yet from your website. To start collecting data, make sure your website is tagged using the measurement ID. And then everybody's measurement ID is different based on the account that they've set up, right? So you don't need tagging instructions. My recommendation is just to follow what we're going to walk you through here today. So what you're going to do is pretty much just copy your measurement ID starting from the G all the way to the end of it. And then you're going to go back to Tag Manager and you're going to click on Tags. You're going to click New and you're going to title your tag GA4. And your tag configuration is just going to be Google Analytics. You'll click Tag Configuration, Google Analytics, Google Tag. And in your tag ID is where you're going to paste the Google Tag ID that you just copied from the Google Analytics account that you opened up. Your triggering is going to be initialization all pages. You're going to click Save. You're going to click Submit just to make sure that all of the tagging is submitted appropriately and implements on the site. And then you can name this GA4 implementation, click publish, and probably within the next 2 to 3 minutes, if not a little sooner after that, what you'll start seeing is more of this real-time data coming through. And that's where you start seeing all of that data that we've spoken about for weeks and weeks now coming through, right? Your active users, some of the default events that Google has, new users. Again, we spoke about a lot of this in previous episodes, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, but you can refresh it a few times. You should see this tagging instructions, no data received, going away. If not within a few hours, at least within the next 24 hours. And again, if you go into the real time, what you'll start seeing is you'll actually see some people, myself, who are on the website coming in from New York. And then Charlie, if you're visiting from out over in Denver, you might see the map once you zoom out, some people who are visiting from some other areas. And then again, some of these default events here. Really, really quick run through, again, of how you apply it to the site. This is seeing it in real time, guys. So just thought it'd be super helpful to see that. That makes sense to you, Charlie? I mean, pretty clear, cut and dry. Any questions on how you walk through that stuff?
So you have the container you put in the GA4, but also in that container, which as the name suggests, holds things. Those things being GA4. Like, what else can you put in there? Like pixels and...
Yeah, so you could also put pixels. And again, I think for the sake of this conversation, it's kind of let's keep it flowing over into the events, right? I think I want to start by focusing on important events that people may want to see on their website, right? So let's keep refreshing and see if we start. Are you on the Campaign Pilot website by any chance?
I think I am, yeah. Yeah, I am.
Okay, because what I'd like to see is a few more users come over here. Yep, it looks like we're actually getting some more page views in here right now, which is great. Yep, 4 page views. So it looks like it's actually starting to kick in a little bit more. Cool. But what I really want to do is focus on creating an event, right? And again, sometimes these events can be something as simple as page views, which Google already counts, but say we want to do a very specific page view. Say for the sake of Campaign Pilot, we want to dial into people who are just viewing the pricing page because we want to know how many people not only get to the home page, but how many people are actually interested in the pricing. Why might you want to know that? Because you may want to start A/B testing your pages that get the most amount of traffic outside of your homepage. And the only way you can really quantify that is by making an event out of how many people are going to the pricing page. Sure, you can see that in URL reporting as well, but to make it easier on yourself, maybe you want to create an event out of it. So that being said, the way you do that in Google Tag Manager is you do the following. First and foremost, you're going to go back over and you're going to go to, it's under admin, but we're going to want to go to variables here. And one thing I like to do, and I believe I spoke about this again on the last Google Tag Manager video, is I like to select all the variables because all of these variables here have a very big part to play in the data that passes over when you're clicking around on the website. And this is going to be very pertinent into setting up events on the website when it comes to particular page views, certain actions that are getting taken.
What is a data layer? Just like in like pretend I'm a golden retriever.
Yeah. So let me go through the actual practice really quick. But basically, a data layer is all of the information that is stored on a page, and then when an action takes place, such as a click or a page refresh or a page load or scroll or somebody clicking on a pricing page, it's information that gets passed over from the previous page to the new page on top of any additional information within the code that the page has stored within it. So, and again, it'll be easier to explain once I have something pulled up here that I can show you. So once you have all your variables selected, what you're going to do is go to preview, and you're going to enter in the preview section the name of the website that you want to preview for the data layer and the variables. In this case, it's Campaign Pilot, right? So it'll pull up a window like this. You'll see Campaign Pilot. And what I mean by and then you'll continue. And what I mean by the data layer is you can click on any one of these actions that are happening here. And what you'll see is one, all of the variables that occur when the window or the home page is loaded for Campaign Pilot. And what you'll also see in the data layer is what's being loaded in terms of the code that Google Tag Manager is picking up. Now, in this case, there's not a lot when the window's loaded. There's not a lot on any of these. But as you start making more selections throughout the website, so if I go back and I click on something like pricing, for example, you'll see that these history changes start bringing up some additional items in the data layer, right? So if I go from this container loaded all the way up to this history or this history change, what you'll see is the old URL before the GTM. This debug is just the preview in the Google Tag Manager, but you'll see the old URL being just the home page and the new URL being the pricing page. So the data layer basically contains all of the historical information and data from previous referring pages, and also some information on the new page as well, right? Like what the new URL is, what the history state and change source is. And again, it is missing some information here, which I think will be a follow-up for this podcast if we have enough time on this video, is to ask Lovable to start putting in additional information in the data layer so we can do more advanced event tracking if possible.
Okay.
So again, not to digress too much, what I really want to do is I want to dial into a very, very specific event that I'd like to create, and I want to track anytime somebody visits the pricing page. So when I clicked on the pricing page, there were a few things that showed up, and I really want to focus on what the variables are. So I know that my event is a page view, right? That's one thing you want to notate. And then I also want to look for specific things like perhaps page URL, right? So I know my page URL is this full URL string of campaignpilot.app/pricing, and you can copy and paste that over here in a new URL tab. And those are really the only two things I need for a specific page visit to create that custom event. So after that, I have the two things I need. I know that the event is a page view, and I know that the one unique identifier for this event is going to be that the page URL contains pricing in it, or it's going to equal this campaignpilot.app/pricing. So the way I will set up the event is I'm going to stop the debugging. I'll get out of this window here and go back to Tag Manager. Now, after that, I'm going to create a trigger, the page view, and I'm going to call this page view pricing, right? Because it's going to be a specific page view for the pricing page. And when you click on trigger, it'll give you all of these different trigger types, right? And in this case, again, we know that the event type, the very first thing we saw, was page view, right? So we know that that's what triggers it to occur. So we'll click page view, but I don't want this action to just occur on any page view or all page views. I only want it to trigger on a specific page view, some page views, right? And not only do I want it to trigger on just some page views, I want it to trigger when the page URL contains,
like exactly matches.
Or you could do exactly matches. You could do equals, and I could take this whole thing and I could put it over here, or I could do contains and put in pricing here. And then we can go and validate this to see if it fires based on some testing, right? So again, my trigger is page view for pricing. I want to click save here. And I still need to create a tag for this to fully impact the event that will be created in G8.4. Okay, so what we need to do, this is our trigger, and then we need to go in and create a tag. And the new tag will also be called page view pricing. And then our tag configuration is going to be for Google Analytics, because we want this event to report in Google Analytics so we can basically correlate it with maybe specific marketing events. Say we're running a Google Ads campaign or a Facebook campaign and we're driving them to the pricing page, or we're running an SEO campaign, or just putting more investment into SEO. We'd like to see how many people are making it to the pricing page from these campaigns. This is why we want to put it in Google Analytics. So for Google Analytics, instead of Google Tag, this time we'll do Google Analytics GA4 event. And then your measurement ID is basically going to be the same exact thing that your measurement ID was before when you added just the GA4 tag. And I know that was very quick for everybody. So you'll just go to admin, data streams, click on your data streams, and then your measurement ID lives right here. You'll copy it, you'll paste it over, and now you have an opportunity to name your event. So for me, I'm going to name this event, and I always do all lowercase and underscores. I go page view, page underscore view underscore, and then we'll call it pricing, right? Or actually, I could probably just do one. Page view, and then that looks better. Not that it matters much, right? Page view pricing. You don't really need to do much else with event parameters, properties, more settings advanced. Now, after you have this set up with your measurement ID, your event name, that's going to pass into GA4. This is what it's going to be called under events in GA4. You're going to select your trigger, and your trigger is going to be the page view pricing trigger you just created. Does this all make sense so far? I'm kind of setting it up. So I know very technical and kind of boring, but
you're telling it to look out for itself, basically. Like you're creating
exactly. Yep, exactly right. So after that's done, you'll click save, and just like anything else, nothing will take full impact or effect with Tag Manager speaking to any other platform until you hit the submit button. So what we'll do here is we'll call this pricing page update. We'll click publish. And then after that, we're going to now go test this out. So after it was submitted and published, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the preview, connect back to Campaign Pilot. And basically what I want to do is see that this tag here that hasn't fired yet, if I click on the pricing page, if it now shows up under fired. So if I click pricing and I go on this history change, let's see, didn't fire. Okay, not a great look. So let's see if there's an issue with, and that's okay. And listen, that's part of the iteration here, right? The going back and forth. So what we need to look for is page URL.
Would it still show up, or would it still fire if it was HTTPS, if it was www?
It would still show up, because the whole rule that I had put into place on Google Tag Manager, for example, was contained. So, but sometimes, again, and this is just the nature of Google Tag Manager, where for anybody, it gets a little finicky, right? Like sometimes it works on the first try. Sometimes you have to kind of go back in and mess around with the trigger a little bit, right? So if it doesn't work on the first try, my suggestion is always go back in and say, okay, maybe it's not page URL contains pricing. Maybe it's page URL just equals, and this is something you said before, maybe it's the equals campaignpilot.app/pricing. Right, and then hit save, hit submit, and then we'll call this pricing V2, and then hit publish. And then what you do is we can just go back in, we'll connect it again, we'll stop debugging, we'll go back to the debugging again. So let's try the pricing again and see if this fires it after that. And if not, it just might take some more iteration, history change. Still no. It isn't exactly what we want. Page URL equals HTTPS tag firing triggers. Let's take a little closer look at the variables. This event is a page view. You know what? And this is sometimes what you have to look for. So if you look here, actually in the event, there are actually custom events where this one is page view. So I'm willing to bet if I go back and do triggers, let's remove this and change this to, instead of that, a custom event, right? Because that was called, so the variable type is custom event, the value is page view. Then let's see if this happens. And we'll give it a shot one more time and see if it works. If not, then it just takes consistent iteration to keep doing it. And the lesson out there for everybody is just keep doing it until you get it. But it does take a little bit of time to go back and forth on it for it to work properly. Let's see. upload here our tags, and there you go. Okay. So if there's anything to be taken away from that one, which just took a little bit of back and forth, is when you look at, again, when you click on the variables, sometimes if the variable type says something like custom event, what you may have to do in your triggers is select the custom event and then match it with what the value of that custom event is.
That's telling you what it's listening for, or it's telling you what it wants?
Correct. It's telling you what it wants. And sometimes it'll pick up on like the default event, which really in most cases, it should have just been a regular page view. But for some reason, and this could be very much a lovable thing, which is something you and I have spoken about, and what we wanted to take the second half of this episode for was to explain to Lovable to allow some of these default variables and events to come through the data layer for Google Tag Manager. So in this case, for whatever reason, the page view event doesn't come through as default. It comes through as a custom event. So you have to do a little finagling around with the way that you set it up in Tag Manager, which is okay. Again, it just takes a little bit of back and forth and finding out what you have to do to exactly update it. And again, it just takes really looking at some of the variables, what the value is of that variable. And in this case, you had to create the custom event. You had to make the value page view in order for it to show up, and then just associate it with the same trigger that we had already set up. So again, it can get a little convoluted, but it's something, again, it's just kind of going back and forth and making sure that you're kind of reading everything that's getting spit out. Something that should be pretty simple, sometimes always isn't, but that, again, is something we've kind of spoken about for this specific website here. Is it the same for each and every one? Typically, no. I don't think everyone will kind of face the same thing out there, but again, it's just a quick example of kind of how you run through things and how you need to go back and forth sometimes in Tag Manager. I've done this more times than I can think of, hundreds of thousands of times probably, and just trying to figure out why certain events don't fire the way you want them to. And now that it's fired, the other thing to also point out is let's actually look in analytics and see if this passed along.
Where would it show up here? Like
right here.
What is that? Oh, page view price. Oh, okay, cool.
So now that we've created the page view pricing and we finally got it to fire, what you also see under your events is the event you just created. And in this case, we just created page view pricing. Sorry, I think I put this in alphabetical order. Wherever it went. Oh, sorry. I went too deep through it. Page view pricing right here. So cool. Again, this is all for if you want to create custom events, to dive a little bit deeper into what actually takes place on the website. It's great. The other thing I really wanted to dive into is, again, this being the more pertinent CTA.
Yeah.
It's something you definitely want to look at. So if we want to go back into Tag Assistant, right, and we want to start looking at people who click on Get Started, this is something about missing data layers and variables that we might want to ask Lovable if they're able to do and how quickly they can get it done. So if I click on Get Started, and it takes me to this authorization to continue with Google, and then I go back into the variables here, it doesn't give much in regards to actually clicking the Get Started button. Like if I search Get Started, it's nowhere to be found. So I think one simple way to really solve this would be to ask Lovable to say anybody who clicks on any of these buttons or any of the navigations to say, can you identify the click text instead and have it pass along as a data layer? That would probably be the first thing I'd start. The second thing I'd also work on is asking Lovable for anybody who clicks Get Started, can you tell the difference between somebody who's already signed up and somebody who needs to actually sign up, and pass along some sort of something in the data layer that indicates whether somebody's a new user or an existing user. Otherwise, you have no idea whether or not somebody is or isn't, and that's how you'd be able to identify those, set up an event in Tag Manager for that, to then, again, start connecting the dots from a marketing perspective.
Do you want to do that now? Do you want to try that now, or do you want to wait?
Yeah, let's give it a shot. Let's see. No. I mean, if we have some time, do you want to ask Lovable how quickly you can do it?
Yeah. We got a little bit of time. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so here's the build. All right, I'm just going to pair it with what you tell me. So what do I prompt Lovable? Like a question? Like
no, let's ask Lovable if, let's say, can you associate click text with the navigation options as well as the sign in and get started CTAs?
Sign in and get started.
And then give it some context, For context, we need this data to pass over in the data layer for Google Tag Manager to create custom events.
For context, we need this data to pass over the data layer to
Google Tag Manager
like that
to create custom events.
To create custom events. For context, we need this data to pass over the. By the way, if you're just listening to this, just pull over and open up YouTube. For context, we need this data to pass over the data layer to GTM to create custom events. All right, see what it says. So let's see. I'll add click tracking in the navbar elements and push data to GTM's data layer. So in layman's terms, what is this saying? Basically what you want.
Tracking to the navbar elements to push to data to the GTM layer. Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty much gonna. It sounds like it's gonna follow through with adding something to.
I don't think I like that. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Oh, maybe not. We're getting some errors. This will work itself out.
Does it usually do stuff like that?
No, I guess it hates data. Cool thing is that it can usually fix itself.
Because the interesting thing with Lovable too, and this is, I'm assuming, probably it's an issue across some other web builders too that leverage AI, is they don't put enough within the data layer to pass over the necessary information to track like a custom event. So you usually have to go back in and code it in yourself, or you have to prompt it to implement it within the code itself. Otherwise, you don't have enough to really go off of.
We're like manually fixing it right now.
Correct. So again, the simplest fix here is to say, like, usually when you click a button like get started on any other website, in that variable drop down in GTM, it'll say click text equals get started, right? So you can at least tell Google Tag Manager to say when anybody clicks a button that has the text get started on it, send an event to Google Analytics that says, I know somebody clicked the button get started. In this case, there is nothing on the Lovable site right now that when somebody clicks that button, there's not even a button click. It doesn't register as anything other than somebody just going to the next page, and it's not descriptive enough to really track the event in that scenario.
Okay. I see the issue. There might be a syntax problem within the JSX structure. Let me rewrite the entire component to ensure clean syntax. Fix the syntax error by rewriting the component with proper structure and parentheses. All right, I'm going to publish this. And I'll update here in a second. I'm going to stop sharing. And Conor, if you want to share your screen,
let's go back in and see if it actually pulled it through. That'd be pretty cool if it pulled it through right away too.
See what happens.
All right, so let's do it.
And you can tell right away.
Yeah, it should be pretty right away if it published and it's all right. So let's click get started. See, now this is cool. So what we didn't have before, which we have now, is the CTA click and then the variable.
Oh.
So the event is CTA click, which is great. Nothing we had before. Now, what I'd like to see, which I still don't, is this click text is still undefined. So ideally what I'm looking for is it for not only to tell me that the event is a CTA click, but I also want it to tell me that the CTA text, the value is get started.
Sign in or get started.
Exactly, because then if you're able to tell it that the CTA click is sign in versus get started, is it perfect right now? No, but again, you obviously iterate over time to perfect it, but I can tell some of the difference between those who sign in as existing users and those who click get started to sign up for the first time, and it gives you at least some difference in terms of what's coming over.
I bet it can do that. Do you want to try it?
So look, it is actually in the data layer as click text, but it didn't come over in the click text here in the CTA clicker in the string. And that's ideally where we would actually really need it. But we can give it a shot and see if it works, just because it is coming over in the data layer like we asked. It's just not coming over in the variable data like we wanted it to.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. We have a little bit of time.
We have a little bit of time. Why don't we see if it's able to add it into as a string? That's how it should come across also. Tell it to send over the click text as a string, and then it might come over in the variable data.
Like that?
Let's see your prompt here. Can you add the click text? Yeah. Let's see what that brings over to us.
Okay. So I put in, can you add the click text as a string to bring it over to the variable data? Let's see what happens. Okay. And then, so would this have to be done with each new event, just like this process that we're doing right now?
So what I would do in this case, and this is for any new site, is I would probably prior to building or during the build is ask it to layer that in as it's building it, right? Like it really should be something that's almost default and should be thinking about prior to building, because again, you're not instructing Lovable prior to the build to do any of this. It's just your requirements are truly about, okay, this is my wireframe, or this is the content, this is the objective, these are your CTAs, but you're not layering any instruction in on, well, I also need to track certain events or certain data. So in order to do that, I need you to include this in your data layer. I need you to include these as strings so that I can see it in the variable. So it's a good point to bring up. And I guess, again, in practice, thinking through it, it's something to do prior to or during your iterations of getting your site or landing page up and running. So it's ready for that when the time comes to get the event stood up. You want to give it a shot one more time and see if it came through?
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So ideally that what Conor's talking about should be in your product requirement doc.
Yeah.
When you fire it. Okay.
Okay. So let's click. So we're in here. Click get started. CTA click and then variables. Still not showing up, but it still is in the data. So it just so it added, and again, love AI for what it does to make life easier, but it added click text string.
Oh, okay.
I love it sometimes. Yeah, but it added it in the data layer. I guess we need to be clear with instruction as is always the lesson with it. We need it to come through as a text string so that the variable picks it up. Because right now the click text is undefined. So basically, I guess what I should have told you is the return type needs to be a string under here. Like see how this is string here? Return type is string. And that's why it comes through. So the return type needs to be string so that the click text comes through as get started. So if we want to try it one more time, see if it works. Yeah. If not, that's something we can obviously kind of work through and get done ourselves. And again, this is all for you guys to really just understand that even us as marketing pros and people who do this for a living kind of have to go through this iteration quite a bit to get it right.
So I'll just say the return type needs to be a string. Do you think it would know that?
So let's call it the return type needs to be a string. You don't need to add return type into the data layer.
Like that?
Yeah, let's see what it says.
Okay. So then other events could be, I would think that the biggest one would be like how many new customers are you getting versus return customers, of course. Like, customer acquisition. Boy, what other events could there be?
For this one, it's really simple, right? I think for the sake of this, like go back to the pricing page. I'd be more curious about who clicks on the contractor versus agency versus enterprise, who's selecting yearly versus monthly.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like all of those things. And again, over time, it helps you build out your personas and your segmentation for marketing and for audience builds and things like that. So that would be some of those events, right? Like who's selecting what to give you a better idea of just how you market. Maybe you have a really big pool of people who selected agency at $25 a month. And that just lets you know that that's the model to go to market with more so than the $15 one, right? Like why cut yourself short and say, hey, $15 a month is is the plan that everyone goes to. I'm just at a loss for words of how to say it. When $25 is really like the staple plan for everybody, right? Like always advertise that one if it's the most popular plan. Or if you see more people going for the $45 one, maybe it gives you the idea to say, well, maybe $45 should be my middle, $25 should be my low end, and I could have a high end that's $99.
Yeah.
Right? Like those are the things that I would start taking away from those custom events that you create.
Okay. Let's try this one more time.
Let's give it a shot one more time. You guys are on this in real time with us, so let's see how we can do this and if we're successful versus not.
If you're still around, you're still listening, watching. Let's see. So he's going back in.
No, it's not seeming to understand exactly what we're looking for.
You know what I would do next? I would screenshot this, like this screen right here. And then I would just feed it into Lovable. And I would say, just like that. And I would say the variable needs to say so and so and so and so and so and so. Yeah, exactly. That's what I would do.
Let's send this over to you. Hopefully we can get this dialed in.
The prompt too, and I'll just copy it.
All right, let's get this over to you.
As fun as it is to build with AI, it is fun. Sometimes it's just a pain in the rear end.
Sure,
The
most of the
back
people
and
out there
forth.
know this.
Yeah, back and forth. Lovable has good customer service though. I had a good experience with them.
Let's give that a shot, see if it works.
Okay. So I'm going to, we are looking to have, okay. And for context, I'm going to share a screen here. So I'm putting in, we're looking to have the return type with the variable click text filled in with the actual text get started. Well, it's in the data layer. It's not passing over to the variables output in GTM. Please fix this. Over the variables output. Please, okay.
If you guys have stuck with us through this episode, by the way, props to you. We appreciate it.
We'll send you a windbreaker.
We got windbreakers.
Maybe by the time this episode's out. Yeah. So let's see how it takes this. Okay, I can see the built-in click variables and picking text. Some click handlers. I need to modify the data layer to explicitly pass the click text in a format GTM can recognize. Okay. Then it spit back. Added multiple click text variables to the data layer, including GTM.element properties and explicit click text, button text field so GTM can properly capture get started text in its click text variable. All right, I'm going to update this. Does that make sense to you? Because to me, that's like a different language.
Gibberish? Yeah.
Okay. And updating now. Yes, be sure and update after these changes, because if you do something like this, you don't click update, and then you go back and it didn't work, then it just like it botches the project. It gets giant headache. Okay, I updated it. I'm gonna stop sharing. See where we're at now.
Go here. Fingers crossed, everybody. Okay. Yeah, we'll sit here. Oh well, this actually works. So it didn't necessarily put it under the click text, but it put it in the click element, which is good enough. So you could do click element includes contains get started, and your event could be CTA click, right? So if I want to do something, right, I know, and again, now we have to start looking at certain things like, let's see, we do, just looking for event, custom event string, CTA click. So we're going to do a custom event. That's going to be CTA click. We know that, right? So our custom event is CTA click. I'm just writing this down for my own knowledge. And then includes click element, includes the text, get started. Let's get out of here and let's give this a shot. If we do, we're ending this off on a great note.
So you have to submit that blue button on the right.
What's that here?
Yeah.
No.
Is that okay?
No, that's just always there if you just want to submit after any changes. So new trigger, we'll call this get started, click.
So what are you doing right now?
This is the trigger for the get started click. So whenever somebody clicks it, this is going to be what fires the event to go into Google Analytics.
I got it. Okay.
So the trigger, or really we could even copy this because it's a custom event, but we'll just do a new one. We're going to call this get started click. And again, we know it's a custom event. The event name is going to be CTA click. And then it's going to be click element contains get started. I'm going to hit save. And then we're going to hit we're not even going to hit submit yet. We're going to do our tag. And our new tag is going to be for get started click. Tag configuration is going to be Google Analytics and GA4 event. The measurement ID, which again is in admin, data streams under here. And then our event name will be called get started. We'll call it click for now. Get started click. We'll hit save. Then we hit submit. We'll click publish. And now we'll test this to see if in real time everything's working as intended. And again, this may take a little bit more back and forth, but such is life when it comes to all this fun analytics stuff.
With AI.
Right. Yeah, with AI layered into it. Okay, so this all loaded. We see the two tags down here. I paused page view pricing for now. I just want to focus on the get started click. I have this open, so now let's click get started. I have this history change right here, and it still didn't go through, so let's see.
No go, huh?
No go. See, get started click. I'm willing to bet it's because I probably, let's see, click element. Wonder if we have to put these in here. Give it a shot on the triggers.
So what are you doing right now?
I'm just going to put the quotation marks in there and see if that makes any difference.
Okay.
Element contains event name with CTA click. Let's try this again.
And each time you're just trying to recreate it, right?
Correct. So it's still not taking with the element get started. No blocking triggers. Get started. Click element contains. So the event CTA click is fine, right? And this is how you guys can also check this too. But the click element contains get started. So what we might want to do is also just try variables where click element equals. Let's try this as one last one and see if there's anything else. Form element. Just try this. Equals. Get started 3. No, it's not really click element. So I guess it's just not cooperative because of the click element.
At this point, what would you do?
The thing is, we could keep going with Lovable to get it right, to really get the click text, but I don't know why it's returning the type as a Boolean where it's false. It should really be a string. And it's even the same thing with this. Like the click element shouldn't be an object. Like this inner text, it's something with Lovable where it needs to get figured out, where it needs to really pass along these variable types in a way that Google Tag Manager can read it. Because again, it all gets pulled from this data layer, but it needs to get pulled from a data layer in a way in which it comes into the variable, right? The data layer is the key here, what it's doing, but for some reason it has click text here or button text, but it doesn't pull it into the variable area like click text here.
Okay. We can figure it out.
And that's something to get figured out, which I believe by the next episode we'll definitely have figured out. But if we can do, let's see.
You try one more?
Yeah, let's see. Teams. Put equals.
So what is this saying? What's different about this than what you've tried?
Just trying to match it to the actual output, which doesn't seem like it's going to work either. So by the next time we probably try and get this, it should be matched. I would work on Lovable actually passing through the data the right way, if anything.
Okay. Right? So this is why I do this like before.
Yeah, it would be something that I would definitely recommend. And again, because it's just easier to set them up that way in Tag Manager, where some of this stuff, again, it's like there's a lot of undefined areas here where it makes the event tracking a little bit more difficult to do.
Okay.
So I would say let's get Lovable in a spot where click text comes through and it comes through the right way, or we can get it to actually factor in when somebody first signs up through the Google authorization OAuth, or when somebody who's already signed up actually signs back in.
Okay.
Which would just be another factor to layer on into it.
I think we'll handle that in the next one. That will be it for this one. We'll iron all those wrinkles out in the next one, but I think that was good progress for this episode. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll come back again next week.
Appreciate your patience, guys. Peace.